Multiple courts have uncovered extraordinary abuses perpetrated by your agency. You are at the same time concealing information about serious allegations made against the President of the United States, even as your institution also targets his chief political opponent in an unprecedented way. Why would we ever give you the blank check that you want to continue surveilling American citizens in an improper manner? Why would we ever do that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Abadi, let me just stay with you. You just started to answer Senator Blackburn's question that not releasing the 1023 or talking about it as a matter of life and death, question of life and death, you said. Explain.
It is potentially a question of life and death
For whom?
with regard to the source of the information.
So, okay, so now we've confirmed that the document exists. That's progress because the FBI director initially denied that it exists. Why did he do that?
We have already and previously acknowledged the existence of the documents.
Yeah, after you first denied it. Now, when a member of this committee read it, right, the FBI director, let's just get the record straight. The FBI director initially said it doesn't exist. Then Senator Grassley said, I've read it. Then he said, oh, okay, well, gotcha. I guess it does exist. Now you're going back and forth with members of this committee what's in it. Why don't you just release it? Is it classified?
The document is not classified.
Okay. Will you commit to releasing it?
Senator, we'll take that back and we will work with you in this committee.
How about just a yes or no? Will you commit to releasing this unclassified document that alleges that the President of the United States, has taken $5 million or more in bribes from a foreign nation?
The document has already been released pursuant to a subpoena to the House Oversight Committee.
Has it been released to this committee?
We will work with this committee within the parameters that are established to meet
Will you
the
release the
request.
document to the public? It's unclassified. Don't you think the American people have a right to see it?
Senator, the document, as you know, contains sensitive information that has bearing on the life of the source of the information, potentially.
You can redact the source's name. We do this all the time.
In some instances, Senator, and I know you know this, that is not sufficient to protect people. And that's what we strive and work to do each and every day. And I hope you would take that seriously, too.
Oh, I take it very seriously. But I also take seriously the fact that your institution has repeatedly abused its authority, has repeatedly targeted political opponents. Your institution is the one that went to the door of pro-life protesters with SWAT teams to try and intimidate people because of their speech. Your institution is the one that treated parents as domestic terrorists because of their speech. Your institution is the one that, according to the court, the FISA court, ran 278,000 unwarranted, probably illegal queries on Americans, right? That was your institution, correct?
With respect to the compliance incidents, yes, some of the other things you cited, we can take them one by one. They are not.
Compliance, you would characterize the unlawful querying 278,000 times of American citizens as compliance issues?
We've said before, I've said that it's totally unacceptable.
Who's been fired for it?
Individuals involved are handled through the disciplinary process.
Who's been fired for it?
We have, in the case of the unintentional instance where something similar happened, we have fired people in the past.
Wait, I'm sorry. What does that word salad mean? The unintentional instance where what does that mean? Who's been fired for the 278,000 times that you improperly or illegally queried the database for American citizens? Anybody?
When we find intentional incidents.
Well, you're saying that the 278,000 queries were unintentional?
I believe that's correct.
Wow. 278,000 times American citizens' information was queried by your agency unintentionally? That's your testimony?
I would want to go back and check that, Senator. But
well, that's what you just told me.
My understanding is that the vast majority of
wait, that's different. You just said it was. You just said it was unintentional. Now it's the vast majority. Which is it? Do you know?
I would want to go back and check it.
So you don't know?
My understanding is that likely all were unintentional.
Likely all. So first it was all of them, then it was vast majority. Now it's likely all. So you don't know is the answer to the question.
I don't know the answer as we sit here today, but I will find out and I will get back to you.
Who was fired for the lies to the FISA court for the Carter Page warrant? Who was fired for that? Anybody? Has anybody been held accountable for your institution deliberately lying to a FISA court to get a wiretap on an ongoing presidential campaign?
There is an ongoing disciplinary process with respect to individuals involved in that.
Here's the deal. You're back in front of us asking for the reauthorization of extraordinary authorities. Multiple courts have uncovered extraordinary abuses perpetrated by your agency. You are at the same time concealing information about serious allegations made against the President of the United States, even as your institution also targets his chief political opponent in an unprecedented way. Why would we ever give you the blank check that you want to continue surveilling American citizens in an improper manner? Why would we ever do that?
Senator, we're here to talk about reforms today. I did get confirmation that the query.
No, we're not. We're here to talk about the reauthorization of Section 702. Why would we reauthorize it, given your track record of abuse and illegal and improper surveillance and political targeting? Why would we do that? Why would it be appropriate for this body to do that?
We've made significant reforms and implemented corrective measures. We've seen significant progress as a result of that, Senator. The
So you
queries
say.
that you mentioned early were in fact unintentional. That's what I was just told by my counterpart.
That is an
Clarify
amazing.
the earlier question.
So your testimony is the 280,000 queries of American citizens was unintentional. That's your final answer?
That's how they were assessed by that team that did the review. I'm not satisfied with that. That's
Yeah, I
why
don't believe
we've
that at all.
implemented further measures, as I announced earlier today.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. And frankly, we've heard from your agency 1,000 times that you're going to do better, will do better. You promised after the abuses of Title I you'd do better, and then we find out that in the meantime you're illegally querying 280,000 American citizens' data. It's unbelievable, frankly. Everything you say is unbelievable.
Senator Tillis?
At the end of that exchange, when Senator Hawley stops, when he just freezes in disbelief and says in almost a hushed disgust, it's unbelievable. Frankly, everything you say is unbelievable. That is not the sound of partisan theater anymore. That is the sound of a line crossing that no constitutional republic can internally ignore without beginning to rot. Because this was not a complicated legal argument. This was not esoteric CFR language no one at home understands. This was a senior FBI official openly confirming on the record that the FBI has an unclassified FD 1023 document alleging the sitting president of the United States took $5 million in foreign bribes, that the director initially denied existed, that the institution now says exists, but refuses to release, while at the same time claiming that 278,000 unlawful American queries of citizens were unintentional and that no, they cannot tell the Congress who was fired. This is the moment in a hearing where the American story, the myth, the civics version, collides with the reality version. This is the moment where the mask slips. Because this is not about who you voted for. This is not about what side you think is your side. This is about the body of the United States security state, the most powerful domestic intelligence agency in the Western Hemisphere, telling the elected branch that it will decide unilaterally what information the American people may see, that it will decide what constitutes accountability, and that when it illegally searches the private data of American citizens hundreds of thousands of times, that is merely an internal management correction issue. This is the architecture of power saying it answers to itself. It is the single most dangerous political configuration a free nation can ever form. And that is why this moment is not small. That is why this matters. Because history shows these breaches are never symmetrical. The intelligence state is never neutral. It always grows. It always expands. It always justifies itself. It always believes it operates above the moral plane of citizens. And every empire humanity has ever built eventually reached this moral cliff, where a national security apparatus becomes the self-justifying moral center of the regime itself, and elected governments merely orbit around it. This is how free societies die slowly, in procedural ambiguity and secrecy justification, not in sudden coups. When Hawley says, "Why would we ever give you the blank check that you want?" that is not rhetorical flourish. That is a constitutional emergency level question. Because renewal of extraordinary surveillance authorities in this context is not a routine national defense renewal. It is extending greater power to an institution that has now confessed under oath it does not even know the status of its own abuses. And here, the official answer was, likely unintentional. Likely unintentional. Nearly 300,000 times. This is where trust ends. This is where the moral responsibility of Congress, this is where the moral responsibility of citizens actually begins. because the burden to protect liberty does not fall on the agencies. It falls on those capable of oversight. And if oversight cannot force disclosure of an unclassified document alleging foreign bribery by the president, then oversight is already theater. And if oversight is theater, then democracy is only a costume set. This is why this hearing matters beyond party, because the highest danger America faces is not a foreign actor. It is not a rival nation. It is a domestic institution that believes it operates above accountability, while possessing the technological power to peer into every private life in this country. And when they tell you that you cannot see evidence because it may endanger a source, but the same institution claimed the document did not exist, then the question is no longer about a single document. The question becomes, what else have we been told that does not exist until forced to admit otherwise? A republic dies when reality becomes proprietary to the ruling class. A republic is saved when reality is demanded, relentlessly, by its citizens. This moment in this hearing, this exchange, this crack in the facade, is the most important civic moment of our time. The government does not get to own truth. The government does not get to decide what reality citizens are allowed to see. The public does not serve the agencies. The agencies serve the public. That is the chain of moral command. This is why this channel exists. This is why documents must be exposed. This is why hearings matter. This is why sunlight is oxygen. Because we will never again accept a surveillance state that answers to itself. This is Liberty Congress of USA. And if you will not allow this story to be memory hold again, if you believe sunlight is still a doctrine, subscribe. Support this work. Stand in this fight. The age of secrecy ends when the people refuse to look away.